Good morning. This is a video on factoring quadratics, also known as trinomials. Now, if you want to take notes, you can take notes at each slide, or you can wait until you see the stop sign below for a complete example. So here's example 1. We have 2x squared plus 11x minus 21. Now, note that this is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. It's important for you to know what a, b, and c are, so I've noted them here. A is 2, b is 11, and c is negative 21. We will begin by multiplying a times c. So we have 2 times negative 21. That will be equal to negative 42. Now we will find two numbers whose product is negative 42 and whose sum is 11. Our two numbers are 14 and negative 3. We'll use our numbers, 14 and negative 3, to split the middle term. I'm talking about the bx term in ax squared plus bx plus c. So we will split 11x using our two numbers, and we come up with 14x and negative 3x. And we will use that to rewrite our quadratic. Now that we have split the middle term, we will group the first two terms and the second two terms. You see, I've noted the first two terms in red and the second two terms in green. It's time now to factor out the greatest common factor from both groups. Now, 2x squared and 14x have 2x in common, so I will factor 2x out. Negative 3x and negative 21 have negative 3 in common, so I will factor out negative 3. Now, I am looking for two terms in both groups that are the same, and you see here I have x plus 7 and x plus 7 common to both groups. That's very important because now I can identify x plus 7 as a factor of both groups. I have in my first group 2x multiplied by x plus 7, and in my second group negative 3 multiplied by x plus 7. That means x plus 7 is a factor of both terms in my group, and I can factor it out like any other common factor, and I've done so here. That completes the factoring of this particular trinomial function. In other words, if I multiply x plus 7 and 2x minus 3, I'm going to end up with my very same quadratic, 2x squared plus 11x minus 21. You can try that if you like. Now pause here. You have a complete example, and take notes if you wish. Here is example 2. We have x squared plus 7x plus 10. I will begin by multiplying a times c. I end up with 1 times 10, and that gives us 10. Now I'm going to find two numbers whose product is 10 and whose sum is 7. My two numbers are 5 and 2. I will use those two numbers to split the middle term, which is 7x. So I rewrite my quadratic as x squared plus 2x plus 5x plus 10. Now it's time to group into two groups. So you can see I've used parentheses to do that, and I have x squared plus 2x in one group and 5x plus 10 in the other group. Next, I will factor the greatest common factor out of each group. X squared plus 2x share a common factor of x, so I'll factor that out. 5x plus 10 share a common factor of 5, so I will factor that out. Last, I will factor out the common factor of x plus 2. You will note that x is multiplied by x plus 2, so x plus 2 is a factor in the first group. And 5 is also multiplied by x plus 2, so x plus 2 is a factor in the second group. If it's a factor in each group or for each term, I can factor it out. So I've done that. I end up with x plus 2 times x plus 5. If I multiply those two binomials together, I will end up with x squared plus 7x plus 10. Now you can pause now and copy down this complete example if you wish. Our last example is negative 3x squared minus 6x plus 4. Now I've said this before many times in class, but before you factor anything, you should look at each term and find out if each term shares a common factor. In this case, all three terms do have a common factor of negative 3. So I will factor that out first and then proceed. It makes the process a lot easier if you do this first. I will factor out negative 3, and I end up with x squared plus 2x minus 8. Now you'll see that it makes things a lot easier because now I multiply a times c and end up with negative 8. I find two numbers whose product is negative 8 and whose sum is 2, and my numbers are 4 and negative 2. I'll use those two numbers to split the middle term, make my groups, factor out the greatest common factor from each group. So x squared plus 4x share a factor of x, and minus 2x minus 8 share a common factor of minus 2, negative 2. And so I will factor out the common factor of x plus 4 and arrive at my answer. If I multiply x plus 4 times x minus 8, I will end up with x squared plus 2x minus 8. Now, I forgot to put the negative 3 on the outside of my final answer. Don't forget to do that. So the final answer should read negative 3 outside of the parentheses times x plus 4 times x minus 2. Pause now and write down this complete example, not forgetting to put the minus 3 in front of your answer for this example. Now that's all on factoring quadratics. If you want some additional practice, go Google some factoring quadratic practice. Some worksheets will pop right up, probably CUDA worksheets with answers, and so go for it, practice.